Oh, don't credit her with nasty motives, said Nanny. She eased her shoes off and rubbed the backs of her feet with her cane. Melina had hated her life at Colwyn Grounds, you know. That's why she was contrived to fall in love with Frex and get out of there. Her grandfather, the eminent Throp, had made it all too clear she would inherit the title. The Munchkin-Laner title descends through the female line unless there are no daughters. The family seat and all its attendant responsibilities would go from him to Lady Partra to Melina, and then go to the first daughter Melina had. She was hoping to only have sons to keep them out of that place. She always talked about it so lovingly, said Elphaba, astounded. Oh, everything is gorgeous once it's gone. But for a young person trained up in all that wealth and responsibility, well, she hated it. She revolted by having sex early and often with anyone who would oblige, and as good as she ran off with Frex, who was the first suitor who she had loved for herself and not for position and inheritance. She thought a daughter of Hood's would find it equally deadly, so she wanted sons. But if that makes no sense, if she had sons and no daughters, then her oldest son would inherit. If I'd been a boy without sisters, I'd still be stuck in the same mess. Not necessarily, said Nanny. Your mother had one older sister who was born with a permanent case of overwrought draught, maybe also lacking in the brains department. She was housed off grounds, but she was old enough to breed and healthy enough, and was just likely to bear a daughter. If she had borne a daughter first, her daughter would inherit the title of eminence, the estates and fortune with it. So I have a mad aunt, said the witch. Maybe madness runs in the family. Where is she now? Died of the flu when you were still a small child and left no issue. So Melina hopes were dashed, but that was her thinking back in those days, brave days of youthful blunder. Elphaba had few memories of her mother, and they were warm, sometimes searing. But what's this about her taking medicine to prevent Nesteros from being born green? I got some tablets from the Emerald City from some gypsy woman, said Nanny. I explained to the beastly creature what happened. I mean, you've been born an unfortunate color. And those teeth. Thank Lorene, your second set were more human. And the gypsy woman made some silly prophecy about two sisters being instrumented in the history of Oz. She gave me some powerful pills. I always wondered if those pills were the cause of Nesteros' affliction. I wouldn't mess with gypsy potions anymore, believe me. Not with what we know these days. She smiled, having long ago forgiven herself of any culpability of the whole affair. Nesteros' affliction, mused Elphaba. Our mother took some gypsy remedy and bore a second daughter without arms, who was either green or armless. Mama didn't have very good luck with girls, did she? Shell, however, is a sight for sore eyes, said Nanny rosily. Then who's to say it was all your mother's fault? First, there was confusion about who really was Nesteros' father was. And then the pills from that old Yackle person and your father's moodiness. Yackle person? What do you mean? Said Elphaba, starting. And who the hell was Nesteros' father if it wasn't Papa? Hola, said Nanny. Pour me another cup of tea and I'll tell you. Well, you're old enough now and Melena's long dead. She meandered through a story about the Quaddle glass blower named Turtle Heart, and Melena's uncertain whether Nesteros is his child or Frex's, and she tried to visit Yackle about who she could remember nothing else but the name, the pills, the prophecy. Can't pull teeth from a head, so stop trying. She didn't mention, and she never had, how depressed Melina became when Elphaba was born. There was no point. Elphie listened to this, impatient and annoyed. On the one hand, she wanted to throw it out the window. The past was immaterial. On the other hand, things fell to a slightly different order now. And that was Yackle. Was the name just a coincidence? She was tempted to show Nanny the picture of Yackle snarling in the grimoire, but resisted. No sense alarming the old woman or giving her nightmare frights. So the two women poured each other and restrained themselves from painful observations about the past. But Elphaba began to fret about Nesteros. Perhaps Nessie didn't want the position of eminence, and was so just as incarcerated there as her older sister was here. Perhaps Elphaba owed her the chance of liberty, yet how much could you really owe other people? Was it endless? That's the end of that. See you later.